Welcome to the Masters in Motion podcast, where we empower Masters athletes to reach their full potential. Join us as we delve into the world of CrossFit and showcase the strength, resilience, and determination of Masters athletes, because we love this sport. I'm Jason Grubb with Rick Stevenson. We're just about 3 weeks out from the start of the CrossFit Games. Rick, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I know we took a little break last week, had a little 4th of July holiday mixed in there, and decided to train a little more and do our homework and get ready for another good show. So hanging in there, staying healthy.
I think the interesting thing was that with the 4th of July on a Tuesday, we've gotten into a habit of recording on Tuesdays. And I think it was Tuesday, all of a sudden, we're both like, hey, it's 4th of July. See you next week. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Like, it just worked out just
You
fine.
know what I'm doing right now? I'm watching fireworks. So that's a very good idea. Let's just roll forward a week.
Totally. Well, we've got a great interview today with Pat Sprague, which we want to get to fairly quickly here. But really quick, there were just a couple of news items. Rick, why don't you kick us off with the first news item?
Simply, I think for as far as Masters community is concerned, they did release the scoring tables for not only individuals and teams, but for age groups as well. Boy, it can't get any simpler. When you have a field of 10 athletes, it's going to be scored. They will be scored just like they were last year, 100 points for first place on down to 10 points for 10th place, or any remaining athletes. Like if you have a field of 8 or 9 by that point, your last place finisher will receive 20 or 30 points. But I know there's probably a little bit more controversy in the individual and team side because of the cuts that were announced, and that does change the scoring table each time there is a cut. But for our community, for who we're talking to right now, pretty simple, very straightforward, and I wish, it's not going to be hard for you there.
Well, it's a blessing and a curse in a sense. With only 10 athletes, the scoring table is really easy. The challenge is if you lose 2 events, you're really losing. Not lose 2 events, but if you place second, third, fourth, fifth in a few events, you really lose a lot of points there. Where when we have a larger field and the point table isn't quite as spread out, you can take a second place in an event and it's not that big of a deal. So we're used to this. This will be my 5th CrossFit Games and my 3rd CrossFit Games with a field of 10. So fairly predictable, understandable that this is the scoring table. And when it comes down to it, it makes for easy math. So there's the blessing.
Sure does.
That, right?
Yep. There you go.
The other news of the week were there was some standards released for some accessories that you might use at the CrossFit Games, like grips or like a weightlifting belt. They want to make sure that we're not wearing extra wide weightlifting belts. So I think that the max was 5 inches wide on that belt, not anything wider than that. And I think most of the belts that we wear are 4 inches. I'm sure mine's not 5 inches. I'm sure it's about 4. The 2-pood belt is what I use. It's just something that works for me. So that wasn't an issue. There was a little misunderstanding around the grips at first, where they showed that the grip needed to be shorter than the fingertip with an open palm in order to be acceptable. But then they showed a picture of the grip while you're up on the bar. And even if you have a grip that is shorter than the tip of your finger, when you go up on the bar, the grip actually extends past your finger when you're on the bar. So they made it really clear that it's okay if it extends past your finger when your hand is curved, as in holding on to the pull-up bar. But what they'll be checking at athlete check-in or at any kind of the judging situation is with an open hand, if your grip is just shorter than your middle finger. So some people's middle fingers are longer than others. And for me, my grips are always shorter than my middle finger. I don't have any grips that are longer than that. I don't understand how that could be an actual advantage. It's actually, in my mind, it's just more fabric that I don't need past my fingers. But that's fine. I mean, they make it clear, and I prefer clarity over
ambiguity.
Ambiguity always. So just make it clear. Yeah. Make it clear, and we'll be fine out there on that floor. Totally fine with that. Nothing else on the news side, right?
No, it even though it had been 2 weeks since we've talked. There's that lull in maybe major stories. Certainly, we're going to make up for lost time as we get closer.
Yeah,
and there'll be plenty to discuss after August. So I'd take advantage of the brevity now.
Well, good. Let's jump into our interview with Pat Sprague.
Well, everyone, this week we have a special guest on the show today. He is Pat Sprague. He is a three times Games qualifier, actually in three different age categories. He trains out of Invictus, Seattle. And if the last name sounds familiar currently, just because his son, James, is a 2023 Games qualifier on the individual side. So Mr. Pat has a lot of things going on this summer and a lot to look forward to as we roll through the summer. We wanted to spend a few minutes with him, catching up, learning a little bit about him and his journey. And if you know him, I think I should say he is universally known as the nicest guy in CrossFit. So with that, welcome, Pat, to the show.
Thanks, Rick. And I would like to deflect that right back to you because, the first time I met you, you just got such a nice, warm heart, and you're a fierce competitor, and I admire you a lot.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And you and I have had a chance to compete against each other, which I have really enjoyed this past fall. And I know our age groups, all three of our age groups, do not line up at all.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the beautiful part of this sport is how we're able to share in our journeys, our sufferings. But every now and then when it does, the opportunity presents itself, it's fantastic.
I agree.
Well, Pat, tell us about your background in CrossFit, kind of how you got started. Did you start first? Did your son start first? I don't know that history. Maybe the world knows it, but tell me, how did you get into this?
Oh, that's so funny. Well, in 2010, when I was married, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, you ever heard of CrossFit?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "Well, it's kind of competitive. I think you might like it." So I went to a class up at a local gym, and I did one class and went, I loved it. And so immediately took to it. And what I liked about it was that it was a group atmosphere with a lot of nice people, and it was competitive, and so it was right up my alley. And it just stuck from there.
And when did you start to get competitive, actually in competing? Was it pretty quick?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, in 2011, they had what was, the Open. And I'm like, I want to try to do that. And that year was in Carson, and they took 20, and I made it. And that's my first competition there in Carson was really locked me into CrossFit because of the men I had a chance to meet down there. It really had an influence on me. And I noticed there were some things that I was pretty good at and enjoyed it, and it was just that first year out in the parking lot down in Carson, the Masters athlete.
That's right, the parking lot. They had you out not necessarily a stadium, but it was the parking lot. Yeah.
Yes, there was, and so we all competed out in the parking lot to a much smaller crowd than the big athletes, which was fine. I mean, we were there, and it was an opportunity to do something and be a part of something that was pretty special.
So really, a year or two in, and you had already qualified.
That a year in,
some skill,
and there wasn't nearly the amount of guys then trying to make the spots, so it was a lot easier to make it than it is now. No comparison.
Yeah, I was gonna say with a year or two in, you're at the CrossFit Games as a Masters athlete. Although the field was smaller to qualify, I mean, you clearly had something there. Did you have an athletic background prior to this? Because if that's 12 years ago, you were in your early 40s. I mean,
I went to the games when I was 46. I'm 58 now, and. To answer your question, I've always done something. In high school, I played tennis, I ran track, I wrestled. Had a scholarship for half a scholarship for tennis in college. So I've always done something athletic, but I was never involved in something so profound that included so many different movements. And that's the other thing I love about CrossFit is it makes me do stuff I don't really want to do. And when I don't think I can and I end up doing it, it's a character builder, So that's what really individually got me hooked, but more than anything else, the quality of people in the sport that I've met and the friends I've made and the incredible friendships I have from the sport, that's number one for me by far over anything else.
That's where it really transcends. And I think I think we all get this a little bit more, maybe even than the individual athletes do. We have careers, we have, lives outside the gym that we're taking care of and trying to make a work-life balance work for everybody. And I think just you go into any of these competitions and you sit in the back and you're chit-chatting with your competitors a lot of the times as well. And I don't know if that occurs as much in the younger, in the individual or
Yeah,
team
I
side.
agree with you. I agree with you because, I've even had experiences where you're going to PT, you're getting something worked on, at the games, and they're like, God, we love working on the Masters athletes. You guys are cool. You're chill. The young bucks are just so intense and so demanding. And I'm like, I agree. I think we all realize as Masters athletes that, it's a great thing to be able to do. And it's wonderful if you can compete at a high level, but it doesn't define us. It's just something we love
Correct.
to do. And I think there's a common respect we have for each other too. Like, we know this is hard. It's hard work. And so when I meet a guy like you, Rick, or a guy like you, Jason, I just go, that guy, I respect him for what he does. He puts himself through so much, and it ain't easy. And to keep doing it also says a lot about somebody's character, because, I don't know about you guys, but I probably had people say to you, oh, that's bad for you, or, oh man,
absolutely,
you're too old for that. Or it's not good for you, all those things, which I totally would refute to my grave. But, society says we're not supposed to be doing this stuff anymore.
And it's a terrible thing. We agree 100%. But then I look to folks that are a little bit older, and I'm like, I still want to be doing that when I'm somebody's age. I'm like, and
I mean, I always heard this one, and I love it. I can either do the hard, what we're doing, or we can do the hard of being, I not mean to put anybody down, but a lot of people that don't work out, they get diabetic, they don't get to live a full life. And it's a choice. Which hard am I gonna pick? So I try to remind myself that, some days when I don't want to go to the gym, it's like, okay, just remember this, this is the hard I'm picking, and it gives me a life that I never dreamed I would have at my age.
I agree with you there so much, Pat. I just think about that. The at my age, I never thought I would be able to do something so unique, so special. I was just reflecting today. I'm in Colorado, and I was a gymnast when I was like a young teenager. And I wanted to be the best gymnast in the world. But the timing wasn't right, and I didn't get started early enough. But I happened to be in Colorado, and someone invited me to drop into a gym up in Littleton, which is just outside of Denver. And last week I popped over there, and I was like, oh my gosh, this CrossFit gym is in the gymnastics warehouse that I started in. I mean, this is 33 years ago, right? And I'm able to fast forward in my life to a 47-year-old, 3-time world champion in a sport that I can participate in well into my 50s, well into my 60s. No, and the privilege I get to do this at my age, and I could say that for the next 20 freaking years. That's a pretty remarkable situation. I really like that. Yeah.
It really is. And, that's what's great about the sport. It's just basically, I think relationships are everything. And I could tell you 20 credible men that, I could call and say, hey, man, something's going on. They'd be here, and I would do the same, because when we're competing in a pain cave, we all know what that feels like, and it's hard work. And I know we're competing against each other, but I think we're also supporting each other in our journeys at this age. And that's why it's great for me to be around people like you, Rick, and people like Kevin and Sherry Ann, who I get to work out with every day, which is fantastic.
They don't make you smile at all, do they?
Well, the great thing when you got a workout partner, a trainer like you guys probably do, if you're not having a good day and they're a true friend, they're going to notice it, and they're going to say, what's going on? And because we're not going to have perfect days every day. And Kevin's always been that way for me. He's if I'm having a bad, or if I'm getting on my pity pot a little bit, he'll slap my ass. And I need that sometimes, because that's sometimes my go-to is Pat will feel sorry for himself a little bit about something. He's like, yeah, that's really working for you, isn't it? But he'll do it with love, and it's been great to train with him. He is super ready for this games this year. My goodness. We did a workout today that he just absolutely annihilated, and it's fun to watch.
Excellent. Yeah. And speaking of going to the gym, what does a typical day look like for you? Do you all tend to train multiple sessions, absent big competition coming up? I mean, are you a single session, early morning? How's that fit with work and home life? And
for the last 2.5 years, I work part-time. I own an insurance business, so I've got some time on my hands, which is nice. And generally, we work out from 1 to 4, and that includes
nice
warming up, a lot of warming up. The strength work, some kind of Metcon and then some extra accessory. And then I'm speaking for but we're religious about doing pliability every day. That's the most important thing to me. If I can't work out, I'm doing pliability because I just think that I've had a few injuries and I don't want to get hurt. And I just think that's the best prevention. As far as diet, sleep and diet, they're really important. I love my sleep. It's important to me. And I eat pretty well, but I'm not a macro guy,
Well, I was going to say, Jason and I have talked about diet and importance of nutrition on the show a little bit. And, Jason has well documented a lot of what he eats. Mm-hmm. I'm not out there as much, but I try to eat as clean as I can. Mm-hmm. But the success you've had, and I understand a lot of it's come from nachos and Diet Coke. Is that true?
Oh, man. Oh, hey, you know what? I haven't had a Diet Coke in 6 months.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. But if you put a match to me, I'd probably burn quick because I'm all formaldehyde from the Diet Coke. But no, and I still have a problem with the nachos. There's nothing like blue chips with Tillamook sharp cheddar cheese in the microwave when you're a bachelor.
Dude,
that's such an easy meal.
Yes,
it's so bad.
Yeah.
Well, that cheese was introduced to me by Jason. So
yes, that is the cheese.
Yes. It's carried
Jason,
over here
you
now.
Eat cheese too.
Oh, yeah, of course I eat cheese. Come on,
good.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah, baby.
I mean, every day.
There's a
every
thread
day
that runs through.
Yes.
Pat, I'll let you in on another secret. So cheese is in my diet. It helps to make my boring meals a little more fun.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'll admit to, I wouldn't say I have an obsession with nachos that has been quoted about you, but I do eat ice cream almost every night, especially during games training season.
Nice. What's your favorite flavor?
Well, my favorite brand is Tillamook, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
And my favorite flavor, this is where I have to use some self-control. My favorite flavor is mint chocolate chip, by far. By far. Yeah.
Me too.
But I can't have that. If I have it, it's too much. Like I'll eat too much. It's too good.
Yes.
So in order to restrain myself, I generally just have plain vanilla with a little bit of Magic Shell, which is absolute.
Oh, I love Magic Shell.
It is so good. It's garbage. It's straight up
absolutely
rancid garbage. But especially during games training season, I need all the calories, and I'm looking for things that are that are calorically dense, and ice cream is a winner. Just not much, but just enough. Right?
I think it's great. I mean, that's one of the pleasures in life, right? We get to eat.
Yes.
And I know how hard you're working, Jason. I know what it's like to be, especially at this moment. It's like the pinnacle of working hard, and you have to do it and to be ready. And so I know
it's
where
not
you're at.
12 months out of the year. It's for a very specific time, and the training evolves, and your diet, your rest, your recovery, just as important. All ties together. But
it's such an honor and a privilege to be able to go compete as one of the, especially top 10 in the world. That's just amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
It's just pretty special. I just wish the sport, there's some things with the sport that I think need to change so it's a little bit more fan friendly. You asked me a question, Rick, about if I was the CEO, what would I change with CrossFit?
Yeah. Day one on the job, what would be your...
The first thing I would do is I would create an athlete board of well-known, long-tenured athlete to help on the decision-making process, because...
Age group athletes.
Age group and young bucks. So that I just think I love CrossFit, but I think the management team has a little struggle with control, and I'd love to see them get more athletes participating in the decision-making process across the board. I also would immediately make the sport more fan-friendly so that the average guy and gal that don't know what's going on when somebody's competing can follow it closer and see who's winning, who's second, who's third, who's fourth. Even at the semis this year with James, there was workouts where if they maybe added a few bucks here and there, it would have been easier to... I mean, you and the three of us are pretty skilled, so we can kind of tell who's ahead, but the average fan doesn't get it. And it really alienates a lot of people, and I think I would change that right away.
Well, I don't know for the runners. I don't mean to really go off on a tangent, but I'm not sure on the runners, but on the rowers, they had that board that said what 100 meter, 200 meter, 300, 400, 500. And you could tell. So I wasn't there, but to be able to watch it, the stream, And as long as I could see that board and I could see somebody's rower and I could see, okay, they had 200 meters left to go, or they were somewhere between 200 and 300 meters left or something. I thought that was telling a story. And they have to think that of those things for us viewers, not, streaming, but also in person.
Sure.
I mean, I think, the chess pieces have always been a favorite, to signify what round you're on.
Yeah.
But there's so many movements. That's the tough thing to.
Right. I agree. I know. I don't say I have all the answers, but I think.
Oh yeah.
If they just let some people into their Iron Curtain, that things could be better. That's been my experience. And then, the games itself is fabulous. It's fantastic. It's an honor and a pleasure to be there, but sometimes it's a little over the top with control, and it takes a little bit of the enjoyment out of it. That's the best thing I could say about it. But I don't have all the answers, but that's what I would do. That's definitely what I would do.
That kind of ties into, you've seen, you've experienced Madison, but you've also experienced Carson.
Yes.
And what threads do you pull between the two? What did you like about Southern California versus being in Wisconsin? Or, obviously you saw it in its infancy back in 2011 for age groups, and you were there and an athlete competing in 2021.
Yeah.
As Madison was well-oiled machine.
2016 was by far my most favorite time. It was in Carson. I don't think Madison touches Carson for a venue.
Interesting. Okay.
Not even close.
Okay.
Oh, it was so great down in Carson. It was special. The venue they had, the football field, tennis court, the area in general, it just was a lot more special. It was first class. Madison, I love it, but it's not a first class facility, not even close. And that's why I like Carson better. And biased, I'm on the West Coast. It was easier to go down there.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But when I heard they're gonna move it to Birmingham, I thought that was really not good sport. So I'd love to see them find something somewhere in the middle of the country that's a nicer venue than Madison. That's what I would love to see.
One of the best things I heard, and Jason and I had talked about this, was from Sean Woodland on one of his podcasts, where Birmingham, maybe not for the weather, the climate, the time of year, but the facility, because it was on UAB's campus, had been recently renovated.
Gotcha.
And everything from a broadcasting and production standpoint was already there, already wired. Because if you talk to, and now seeing it firsthand, and you both have experienced it, everything at Madison has to be done by hand, wired and put together, because it's an older venue. That Coliseum was built in the late 60s, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There. And they built North Park from scratch a few weeks before every game season.
Wow.
So UAB had all that in place, and Sean said, we went down, I think, I was doing a game there or something, and he said, it's just state of the art. And so find us a place in the middle of the country that qualifies for weather that's not 100 degrees, and humid in August.
Right.
And that has that, I think then they're already on a good path. But
yeah, I hope so. I think, it's such a special event and so much fun, but I think it's more important that the fans enjoy the experience, so that the sport continues to grow. I want to see it grow. I want to see it continue to grow. I think it can. I just think sometimes, as I said before, sometimes the management staff maybe handicap that more than they need to by not including people like us, for example, that might have a word that say, hey, you might consider this or that. Like I just saw, somebody told me that the grips are now a deal. I don't know anything more about that, but
Jason got the email.
I did.
What was the email, Jason? I'm just curious.
Well, it started out with the grips cannot go past your fingertips with a flat palm. That's it.
Okay.
The controversy was that they showed a green check mark with your hand open and the grip at below your middle finger, but then it showed an X across your hand on a bar. But if you put your hand on a bar, the grip actually goes above your finger, so it was confusing. But they've made it clear they're just looking for that grip with an open palm to be shorter than your fingertip. That's it. And honestly, all my grips are shorter than all my grips fit. I have dozens of grips.
So it's not a big deal.
Not at all. Zero.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the internet likes to make a lot out of nothing.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Everybody's looking for a story to tell weeks out. So
yeah. So it's really not a big deal. Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's for sure.
But taking input from other athletes, I think,
Mm-hmm.
is not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think it could be really useful, and maybe they do, and I just don't know it. But since you asked, that's what I would definitely.
Pat, you've been to the games. I think every time you've gone, they've had 20 in your division. Is that correct? Or have you been?
That's correct.
Okay. What are your thoughts
Yes.
on the amount of qualifying spots? Have feelings on that?
Yeah, I think 20 is a nicer number. What I did notice about only 10 last year, because I coached a buddy last year when there was only 10, it was nice for the space. You guys had a lot more space last year, and it wasn't quite as hectic just having 10 from each. So I can see both sides. I think 20 just to add more participation. I like that number. I don't know why they get away from it. I think 20 is a good number, or even meet halfway. Let's go 15.
15.
But I think
right.
10.
Yeah.
I think 10's too small.
Then you have injuries or
Yes.
things like that, and your field suddenly shrinks. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I certainly prefer more.
Yeah.
But if they're going to be resistant to a larger number, which you both have experience in 20, maybe give the 35 to 39s 20, or maybe the 35 to 44s 20, and then tier from there 15, things like that. But, I think what HQ does with the games is one thing, but it's some of these other Masters events like Masters Collective or Legends, some that have some higher level Masters competition where maybe we're not just relegated to the side, but more the focus. I'd like to continue to see those events prosper and thrive, and I think they only will with our support. I mean, we can wish for everything, but unless we as a community show up, support, pay our money, spread the word, spectators come, it makes it very difficult, because we know the undertaking for this is a pretty big financial commitment from the groups that are involved.
Sure.
So
that makes so much sense.
Well, my thought,
not the same, but
my thought on the size of the field at the games is when I first qualified for the games in 2018, I was 13th out of 20.
Okay.
And so I got in, I almost felt like I snuck in under the radar. I got in, but it was a bucket list dream come true for me. And I ended up taking third that year, which gave me this confidence boost. And I just wanted to send it. I wanted to get back there. If I could, the next year. They cut it to 10 in 2019. And so I had thin hopes. I qualified 7th, and I won. So I think that a larger field can bring in some wild cards. Like me in year one, I'm a wild card that just shows up on the podium or near the top. But I think a larger, I like your guys' idea of, 20, 15, 10, depending on participation, depending on the size of the field in each division. But this is a dream come true. This is, this is a game changer, a life changer for so many people. And it's not bad revenue for CrossFit. It's just, if they're going to have us, like this year, we compete Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we have 2 dedicated days. We share one day with the individuals, and then the individuals are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they have this space. Man, let's pack the field with 20, 15, or 10 in each division, and allow that to create revenue, allow that to bring fans, families, and friends to the sport to come watch the dream come true for someone to get on the floor and compete with you, Pat, or with you, Rick, or with me. When I go to Legends, there's 4 heats of 10 in my division, and they're guys that they're so honored to share the competition floor with the top games athletes. We all are on the floor together, and I think the larger field at the games provides that opportunity. Logistically, is it hard? Yeah, I guess it's hard, but I never felt in the 2 years I had 20, 2 years I had 10, I didn't feel that tremendous difference in being really tight or overly stacked with the amount of people. I would just say there was like one event in 2021 where there were actually 20 men and 20 women on the field at one time. Okay, that's a lot. That's 40 people, but hey, they had the capacity to do it, and they did 40 people for the individual males, 40 people for the individual females. They have the capacity. So that would be my vote. I would get as many people out there as possible, for sure.
Yeah. No, and to your point, to all our points, I'd love to hear what their rationale is for cutting it to 10.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
Do they think they can't afford it? Do they think they don't have the resource? Do they think what is the rationale behind cutting it?
Yeah.
Because the sport's grown. There's way more athletes trying to make the games, and they cut the number, so it doesn't add up.
Yeah.
We've talked about early on in the season, Jason and I talked about the number of 35 to 39-year-old men and the tiny percent that it results of their entire field starting the Open and they get 10 qualifying spots.
Right.
That's actually harder. It's the hardest age group of any to qualify by percentage.
I would imagine.
Yeah, and so it doubles the numbers of judges, but the infrastructure is already in place there. That's what I don't get. It's like you're already using the field, 10 lanes versus 20 lanes. So
yeah,
I'll just keep supporting the other events as well, and you guys keep supporting what we can. But let me pull this back real quick too. We've talked a lot about the games, and you've been in this sport for such a long time. What advice do you have for aspiring masters athletes or athletes that are masters that are just starting out? Because you've had such a journey that's taken you to the sport's highs. But I'm sure, in class, you train next to, everyday moms and dads. What advice can you give to them?
Gosh. Well, first off, I would, if their heart's where they want to compete, I would definitely tell them to don't go too hard. Get a coach. Be willing to change some things in your life. If you want to compete, maybe quit drinking. If you're, you got to eat pretty healthy. You got to get your sleep, and you got to be willing to fail a lot and be humble through it. And sometimes I think you have to be prepared to feel kind of lonely. Like, why am I doing this?
This isn't working out.
That is the truth right there.
Like, okay. And not place too high of expectations on yourself, and have fun. Just have fun. And if it's something you think you'd want to do and join get into a competition, try qualifying for it and see how it goes. And it'll definitely illustrate weaknesses that you need to work on. And but if you want to compete at the games level, I mean, you got to have the time to do it. If you don't have the time to do it, I'm sorry. If you have a life where you can only dedicate a few hours a week, it's not going to happen. You guys know that. You got to have the time.
Yep.
And I would also say be in an environment that's loving and supportive, where you feel like you can be yourself no matter what, because this stuff's hard enough. And I've been in environments that aren't healthy, and it affects my performance. Right. So make sure you find an environment that works for you, because there's a lot of different gyms out there, and not all of them work for everybody, Right. So I think that would be my advice. And the other advice I would give, since most people you're talking about are over 40, is make sure that you're doing mobility work, because I don't know, there's too many people that do get hurt, labrums and this, that, knees, and I think so much of it's preventable if I take the time to take care of my body and do that type of work. So I guess that would be my response to the question. Yeah.
If we were putting together a scorecard for you, listing your strengths and weaknesses on what you like to do, what movements, what you need work on, how would you grade yourself, or how would you assess yourself?
Let's see. Okay, I'll start with the worst. Let's start with my worst. And okay. I've got a full-time gymnastic coach right now, because I need to learn how to do muscle-ups better. I used to be able to do them pretty well, and then I quit doing them, and now I can't do them. So I'm kind of sick and tired of straightening out my competitors' mats when they're doing muscle-ups. And
jeez.
That's how I make so many great friends, is, it's a muscle-up workout. I'll just be going from lane to lane, making sure they got everything they need.
Just help everyone else out.
Sherry is very appreciative of that, right?
She is, and so is Chris Podesto and a number of other guys that I've worked out. So that's my weaknesses are gymnastics, specifically muscle-ups, handstand push-ups. Handstand push-ups are what knocked me out this year, because I couldn't do the frontward facing strict all the way down. I really struggled with those. And then I would say, so that's a 1 on the list of really needs help. High on the list is strength. I'm pretty strong. You tell me I need to back squat or front squat or clean and jerk or deadlift, bench press, anything with strength, sign me up. That's where I'm gold. And then I would also say longer workouts benefit me. I've got a pretty good engine. So I like the longer chippers that last a while, because what I've noticed in my career is a lot of times I won't be first out of the gate, but once that chipper's halfway over, I'm catching you. Yeah. And I have confidence I'm going to catch it, because I see you burning out and I still got it. So I would say if from worst to gymnastics, middle strength, but a long chip or some long workouts I really enjoy doing. A lot of fun.
Well, for strength, if it came down to who would do more chores in around the family, and you had to outlift James, would that happen now or
Not anymore?
Oh,
Not anymore. He has
yeah.
gotten so strong, dude. He's
So
doing a
you'd be doing the
550.
chores.
Yes, I would. He just recently did a 550 deadlift.
Wow.
He clean and jerks 315 like it's nothing. And a year ago he couldn't do that. So I'm so excited to watch him this year because he's worked so hard for this, and he's experienced the heartbreak of almost making it, not making it, and not giving up, and not giving up, and just working hard, and I'm just so proud of him for his journey and what he's done this year, and and he's a good kid. He's not even a kid anymore, but he's a good young man, and he's got a good heart, and he cares about people, and he wants others to succeed just as bad as he wants to succeed. And he's surrounded with some amazing athletes. Dallin Pepper, who I think will make top 10 this year. He works out with him on a daily basis. He works out with Feig Sagafi. He works out with Danielle Brandon. He works out with Emma Carey. He's got a coach, that Matt Torres, who is wise beyond his years, and he understands each athlete as an individual and treats them as such. He's just in a great environment in Naples, and I got to tell you, guys, I just feel so blessed as a dad. I have two great young men, Spencer and James, but I'm so excited to watch James. I'm so excited to go out and watch you, Jason. I'm so excited to watch Kevin this year. It's like Christmas morning's coming. You know, like you're when you're a kid and you're marking off. I don't get to compete this year. That's fine, but I get to watch you guys, and man, it just inspires me more.
Absolutely.
Dallin and James are good young men for this sport because they're good kids, and they don't let their egos get in the way, and I really admire that.
I got.
Well, just remind him that he got your genes of strength.
Yeah, I mean, keep him in check.
Just remind him.
Yeah, make sure he knows.
Yeah. That's where they came from.
Yeah. I still say, hey, watch out, kid. I'm holding one for you, but he reminds me every day almost. Hey, I did this today. I'm like, darn it, a year ago he couldn't do that. But I love it. I want him to get stronger and be competitive because you guys have kids. You just want the best for your kids, and I know in the sport there's a lot more positive guys than there are negative. The guys that don't like to look bad usually stay away from this sport because this sport's going to make you look bad at some point.
It's almost self-selecting.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah, it really is.
I don't know how many times I've seen a guy come into the gym like cross, he's got that swagger, thinks he's all that, and then they're gone in a week. I'm like, what happened to that guy? Oh, I guess but it exposes you. It definitely does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does.
No doubt. I mean, it really does. But yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about the sport in general. It's been life-changing for me. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I think it's one of the reasons I don't drink today is because of the sport. It's something that I can do with my kids as I get older, and I want to be, I'm 58 now. I want to be 80 and still move well, I believe that can happen. My girlfriend's dad's 92. He's walked all his life, and he's in great shape. He lives on his own still. He lives a happy life, and I just think there's a lot more to this exercise thing than society gives it credit for.
Yeah.
Sadly, just walk into a store and look around you, and you just look at how people change
we have
by not moving.
Choices and consequences, right?
Yeah.
Choices and consequences. And Rick, you're an amazing athlete. Jason, you are too. I haven't had a chance to watch you compete much, but I'm looking forward to watching you compete this year. It's going to be fun.
You have the advantage of being there to watch different age groups.
I don't have to coach anybody this year either.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
I mean, you've got Jason and Kevin, you've got your son through the whole, Dallin, the whole crew.
Yeah.
And only Thursday overlaps, really.
Yes.
And that's something.
Yes. And, probably they'll have those guys on Thursday doing something out of the, I would imagine something out of the park.
Yes.
Yeah. Away from if
Yes.
Jason's
Yes.
finishing up.
Yeah. Jason, I was wondering, do you think they might have a triathlon this year? I'm kind of thinking they might throw something like that at you guys.
I hope so.
Like a mini one.
I would love that.
Would you like that?
I would love it. That's just give me something long. I love that stuff. I am curious.
Gotcha.
I'm curious that I don't think they would have us bike. I don't think we'd physically be moving on bikes, but I could see C2 bikes be involved. I think it's just we've got 140 Masters age group athletes, and to outfit that many bikes is I think it's just crazy for them.
Yeah.
But a swim, bike, run, that would be so great. Something like that. I train that stuff. I mean, Tuesday mornings. This morning is the work I did around that. In 100-degree weather, I had a 5K run this morning after some other things.
Okay. Nice.
So I would love that. I think the more creative they can be for Masters, the better. Like, bring it. Give us some things that I even loved. I loved when they had a 4.5 mile run to kick it off in 2021. Like, who does that?
We both did that one, didn't you?
Yeah, that was. Yeah. And it was hot and muggy.
So hot. It just rained, and it actually delayed our start because of the rain, but that made it so muggy.
That's right.
We took 5 laps around this thing, and I ran. I PR'd. I think I PR'd my mile time, my 2 mile time, my 3 mile time, and definitely my 4.5 mile time. I PR'd all of it.
That is impressive.
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy in front of me who would not slow down, and I was gonna win that event. I don't care.
That's right, baby. Yeah. Yep. I love it.
There's no reason. And finally, on the last lap, I'll tell you, on the last lap, he finally slowed down. And I thought he was gaming. Yes. I thought he was going to slow down and then attack me. So I can't turn around. I'm running that last lap. And at about 300 yards out, I gun it. And I'm just sprinting. I'm dying. I'm about to throw up.
Yeah.
Cross the finish line. And I turn around and no one is there. I'm all by myself.
No way.
Yeah, I asked him afterwards. I was like, bro, what happened? I thought you were going to get me. He's like, oh, no, I just got too tired. I couldn't keep up the pace. All right. Wow. So I was scared. I was
90
running.
Points in his mind, he's like, I've got 90 points.
I'll take 90. Yeah, right. Yeah. Fine, Jason.
But that's what separates the you and the Kevin is. Correct. And I learned that all the time from Kevin. It's that last 10% mentally. Yep. Don't say you're almost done. You can chill out. You got to have that. You got to have that mentality that you have.
Yeah.
And those are the people that end up on the podium.
I will not lose this event.
So
I will not. There's no way.
Yep.
And that day was stacked. We had that event, then we had deadlift rope climbs, which I was confident. Then we had max snatch. And,
love that one.
Oh, dude, how great was that?
Yeah.
That was so much fun. And I mean, the last event of the day was snatching, and that's not a strength. So I was gonna stack 100 points, stack another 100 points if I could, and then see what I do on a snatch. And I was super happy with my snatch, and in 9th place, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love the things that they throw at us. Even last year, opening it up, Rick, you remember, we had an 1,800 meter run and then 21 dumbbell push press, and then we had a 1,500 meter run.
Yep.
I mean, those dumbbells were abhorrently heavy. It was hot. Oh, brutal. Yeah. So I like it when they throw out a first event that truly wrecks everyone, because now we're all broken and now we just got to battle for the next 3 more days. I love stuff like that. So
I agree. I mean, and that was so true with that event in 2021 with that run starting off. It was like, that was a game changer for the weekend.
Yeah,
it really was.
Some people can't recover from that.
I also wanted to acknowledge you for what you're doing for the Masters at the games with event wins.
Yeah.
I saw that on Morning Chalk the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's a real classy move on your part and your organization. I'd like to be able to do that and step up and do that with you in a couple of years if I'm able to do it, just to do it, because I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I think is important, is to reward effort. And so I saw that and I just thought that was really cool, Jason.
Thank you. A lot of thought went into that.
Yeah.
And I thought about paying out additional amounts on podium spots and all that. The podium spot, CrossFit takes care of the podium spots. But Masters athletes, we don't get recognized for individual event wins. And we don't have the with 140 athletes, or 7 men's division, 7 female division, you got to start watching the budget, because it'll get a little crazy. If you, but just to hand out $50 in cash to event winners at an unofficial Masters after party, which is just, hey, come to this brewery and and collect your $50. I think it's going to be fun. I've got a lot of signups. And it's really fun to see all the athletes that sign up. You're like, I mean, some of the athletes that are signing up are my idols that are now Masters athletes, right? I'm like, oh, wow, she's going to be here. Oh, wow, he signed up. This is amazing. Okay. I'm not going to say their names, but yeah, it's really cool. And in a few years, I think if we can continue like with a podcast like this, and with guys like all of us that are just continually investing in the Masters divisions in CrossFit, we continue to raise awareness. We increase the value of Masters athletes at the games. 60%, over 60% of the athletes in the Open that submitted a score were Masters athletes.
Right. Wow.
That's a huge amount. So when we say there's 300,000 athletes that do the Open, well, more than 60% are Masters athletes. The rest are individuals and teenagers. That's a huge demographic right there. And these are the moms and dads that keep CrossFit gyms alive. These are the people that need CrossFit intervention the most, right? I started at 38. I needed CrossFit to find me. I needed to find CrossFit so that I didn't end up obese, out of shape, and probably diabetic as an alcoholic. All of those things. Yeah, it's just I'm as prone to addiction as anyone else. So I shift that to CrossFit, and I turned out to be okay at it. So
no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful. So how did you find it? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
How did you find CrossFit?
My sister-in-law told me I would like to go to a class. She said I would really like it. I told her I would definitely not like it. I don't want to I don't want to go do something that I feel inferior at. I felt like I would be intimidated. I don't want to be clanging and banging barbells. It felt like I was going to a jazzercise class. And everyone's going to be super fit, and I'm just a fat old guy. And I walked in, and that was not my experience. They were super kind. It was a small class. The coach gave me all the attention that I needed, and I left there thinking, like, I'm in. I'm signing up Monday.
Wow,
Done.
That's cool. Similar experience to me.
Yeah, just loved it, and that was it. And
Rick, what was your experience? How did you like
through two friends who introduced it to me? They found an advertisement for CrossFit in a off-road biking magazine that had done something. Somebody used it as a training methodology, but they were doing it at corporate gyms. And I only had access to a corporate gym too. So my first probably year or so, I was trying to figure it out following main site, not dropping weights and not having any of the equipment. So when I went into my first CrossFit gym, I was like a kid in a candy store because I was like, wow, look at the rings. Look at this GHD machine. And I, of course, didn't have technique or anything like that.
Yeah.
It can be argued I still don't. But that
Me too. I'm right there with you.
But when you find the right gym and the right community, it makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was, I guess I was lucky enough to stick with it during the training in a corporate gym, getting the bad looks from, the managers and stuff like that. And yeah. Oh, just leave him alone over there.
Gotcha. Yeah, exactly. Do you plan on competing in next year to make the games next year, Rick?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'll throw my hat in the ring. Yeah. As we know, every year you age doesn't get any easier, but sure. God willing, stay healthy. Yeah. Absolutely.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah. Jason doesn't age up for another few years.
Nice.
I'm already paying attention to who does age up, but let's all throw our hat in the ring and see what happens.
Right.
How about you? Will you do that?
If they take 20 next year, I'll try. But I definitely want to make it again when I turn 60. That's my goal. So not so much next summer, but the year after is where my heart's set on. I do want to get back there again. I love it and still love the sport and love the people in it. Don't plan on changing a thing. So
it's interesting. We have talked about when you're in the latter couple years of the age bracket, how does your training change? How does your volume change? I mean, when you realistically might have a tougher shot, that's when you work on skills and weaknesses and things like that. And you wait till you hit that next age bracket, and then you really hit the gas. Hit the gas again. Last thing I had for you was I understand from some of the folks that you train with how neat you are, and that you put everything away, and nobody ever has to pick anything up after you.
Wow, who's feeding you all this stuff, Rick?
Yeah, and that they never have to clean up after you, or they never have to remind you to put anything in its place, or you never leave anything in the gym, like your phone or anything like that?
Oh no, of course not. No, I have a cubby hole for everything I leave in the gym all the time. But you know what? I am clean. I do like to clean up after myself. I think it's a privilege to be in a gym. And and I love to help people put their weights away. I just love to serve. If I'm serving somebody else, I'm happier. So
Gotcha.
so like in Madison, it's going to be a blast because I'm going to serve Kevin 3 days and I'm going to serve my son for 4 more. And I'm just glad he wants me to stay in the same hotel with him
Nice.
and be around him for this experience. I'm honored. But yeah, I
Excellent.
got a real problem with forgetting things, guys. I need help.
Hey,
I
and
need
my
help.
sources will stay nameless. How about that?
I'm going to guess. There's a couple I could guess from, but
Yeah. Okay.
but no doubt about it. God, I got such a bad habit of leaving stuff. I'll actually have a couple people go, "You got your phone? You got your keys? You got your shoes?" Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Totally
Hey, whatever
bad.
it takes.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
But
Well, Pat,
so
thank you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We
yeah, you
really
guys.
enjoyed the conversation.
I think what you guys are doing is brilliant, and I hope you keep doing it. And I enjoy listening to these a lot. They're fantastic. They're insightful. And plus, you get to listen to somebody's journey and what got them to CrossFit or what motivates them. It's always good for me to hear stuff like that. So thank you.
Well, this is
You're welcome.
This is the best hour of our week right here. We get to do this. Rick and I are friends. It gives us a chance to talk every week, no matter what. So
yeah,
we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Again, Pat, it was great to get to see you, and I can't wait to see you at the games.
Yeah, I can't wait to root you on too. There, are you going to be there, Rick?
I am not.
Okay.
Jason doesn't know that yet.
I didn't know
Jason,
that,
I'll
Dave.
just be extra loud. Okay.
I know. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
Jason, I'll be double loud for you.
Thank you. I believe you. I believe you can be 3 times louder than Rick any day.
I can be pretty loud, so I'll be screaming for you. You'll hear me, and I'm really proud of you for what you're doing, and I want you to get that number 4.
Thank you. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go hard.
Good.
All right.
Good.
Thanks, Pat. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Love you guys.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Man, what a great interview with Pat. He is just the salt of the earth kind of guy. Thanks for getting him on here, Rick. That was all you. What a great guy, right?
I was not kidding when I said he is generally known as the nicest guy in CrossFit. That was that. So much good time enjoying getting to know him a little bit more and having him tell us story and his journey. And I hope everybody got a couple of laughs out of it as well too.
Well, and we could have talked for another hour. It would have been easy to continue that dialogue, but we want to be sensitive to time. So with that, let's just jump into our quick picks of the week. I'm excited to hear yours actually, because I use a product like this, but I want to know what yours is all about. Tell me your pick of the week.
Absolutely. Mine is my MCT oil powder from NutriCost, which is, I believe, an Amazon brand. I could be wrong. But that's where I get it from. The link will be provided to you in the show notes. But I mix this with my collagen into my morning coffee, use my little blender, and it is exactly what I need to get going. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the heavy creamers out there, all the nut flavors and this, that, and the other, over the years. Sometimes black coffee is just better than no coffee. But this is the MCT oil powder that I found that I enjoy the most. It hits the right price point. I had been with a competitor, which heavily sponsors in this space. So I just have found that, for cost benefit, this MCT oil powder from NutriCost fills what I need, and big proponent of it.
Very cool. Well, I use MCT oil powder in my coffee every morning. So I may have to take a look at this. So thank you for sending that one, Rick. My pick of the week this week is the Penguin Chiller. I've done a YouTube video on this, and I highly recommend it. It's a chiller for the ice barrel specifically. So Ice Barrel is a sponsor for the CrossFit Games. Really cool. I'm actually going to be at the Ice Barrel booth on Friday. After I'm done competing, I get to go to that booth and meet and greet people. That'll be really cool. But the Penguin Cooler or the Penguin Chiller is a industrial water cooler made by guys, I believe they're in Chattanooga, and it's a U.S. company, and they've made brackets and outfitted this thing to fit the ice barrel perfectly. So actually, the ice barrel has a little drain on the bottom of it, if you were going to drain the ice barrel, you connect one hose to the drain that goes into the chiller, out of the chiller via another tube, through a filter, and just cascades like a waterfall into the ice barrel. And I just can't imagine. I couldn't imagine that this thing would actually work when they sent it to me, that it would take 100 gallons in 80-degree ambient temperatures and drop it down to 45 degrees. It could go down to 38. I just keep it at 45. And it gets it there in just a couple of hours and holds it there 100% of the time. So I've been thoroughly impressed by this thing. I do the cold plunge every single day. I swear by it, Rick. It's first thing. I get up in the morning, I start my coffee, I plunge for 3 minutes every single day, and I am ready to tackle the world afterwards. And so I've got a link in the notes below. I will say that it is a sponsor. They're a sponsor for me personally. They provided the unit to me, but I haven't seen anything else out there that works as well at all for the ice barrel. I know a lot of people have used my link to purchase it and have had really good experience. So I just want to disclose that they are a sponsor, but man, I'm glad they are, because I love this thing. So I'll just take that. And it's been fantastic.
We're still making very, very large ice cubes.
Yes.
We've graduated to some silicone trays now.
Yep.
And we keep about 8 of them in the freezer at the gym. And as long as we remember to refill them, you're floating around with some big chunky pieces of ice, which will bring the temperature down.
Yep.
But it's not the same as going into it in like February or March, where you're having to break through the ice.
Yeah,
just to get in, because ours are kept outside. So I'm curious. Yeah. I watched that video. I like the technology of that. Yeah. We just haven't made the plunge, no pun intended, yet for a chiller.
Well, and it's not cheap. The cooler is just over $2,000. The ice barrel itself is like $1,100-$1,200. Altogether, it's cheaper than a plunge, which is the big bathtub plunge system, which has a cooler attached to the side of it. So it's people ask me all the time, would I prefer the plunge or the barrel? I actually like the barrel because I can drop into it. I get into it and it just drops fast. I think sliding into a tub would be a little tougher, but I don't think that's a big deal. But I would rather have a modular system that is 2 parts. If there's an issue with one part, I could still redeem the other part. I could still use the ice barrel if this chiller didn't work, or I had to have a repair on it or something. I haven't had anything like that happen, but I like the system, but it's together, it's still cheaper than a plunge. But regardless, get yourself cold every day. That's my tip of the week. Get cold every day. Really, really cold. Unbelievably cold for a little bit of time. It's worth it.
Goes that cold shower again. Here we go.
Oh, it's the worst. Well, Rick, this was again, I'm so glad we had Pat on. Such a good episode. We will be continuing to work to have additional guests on. We have a couple in the pipeline that we're excited to have in the future. So stay tuned and stay tuned. We'll have lots of updates as we progress towards the games. Of course, tons to talk about after the games. And Rick, we'll talk to you next week, Rick.
Have a great week.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. If you found this episode to be helpful, we'd be grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older.